are now live with me for today's SitRep. So welcome to today's SitRep. It is the 17th of June, 2022. And it is currently 12 minutes past 9 on the Australian Eastern Seaboard, which is standard time. Winter time, not daylight savings. I'm not saving anything at the moment. We are, in fact, burning daylight. We are rapidly moving towards the shortest day of the year. So long, cold, dark nights. Well, cold if you're anywhere where I live, around where I live. And sorry, just moving some cameras around. It's a nice shot of my pipe up there, isn't it? Might smoke that today. Anyway, what was I talking about? Winter and shit and stuff and things. Hello, welcome. What's happening? I hope you're doing well this morning. I hope you're nicely rugged up if you're anywhere around this cold weather. And if you're not, if you're maybe in the northern hemisphere, then I hope you're staying nice and cool because it's apparently damn hot up there. All right, let's jump into it today. Not too much to go over today. I was looking at a lot of things. I'm like, you know what? I've talked about all this sort of stuff ad nauseum. I don't need to tell you about more food supply shortages, or maybe one or two in there, just because I can't get away from it. But yeah, if you've ever listened to these before, the stories that I go through, as far as the food shortages are going to happen, are just on sort of rinse and repeat at the moment. It's the same sort of stuff. It is happening. I will probably cycle back around to it, but I'm going to try and hit some different things today. To start off, this one got sent to me by somebody, and I thought it was great. I thought it was just fantastic. It's kind of sort of good news, maybe, depending on how you look at it. Let's jump into the western side of Romania, over in Europe. A health campaign in Western Romania is saying that people have to do 20 squats, or they don't have to, but they can do 20 squats. So, you know, air squats, like up and down, for a free bus ride. Yes, free public transport if you move your body up and down 20 times. I think, personally, I think it's great. Anything that gets people moving more, I think is great. And I think this is, as a prepper, and having been in the prepping community now for a number of years, this is one of the blind spots for a lot of preppers. There are people out there now who talk about it quite a bit. I heard this talked about on Casual Prepper Podcast, which is a great podcast. If you haven't heard it yet, Casual Prepper Podcast, check it out. Canadian Prepper often talks about it. Nate from Canadian Prepper talks about it quite a bit, about fitness. Magic Prepper on YouTube also talks about it a bit. They tend to not to, on YouTube, harp on about it too much because people don't listen. I think YouTubers are a lot of, like, I don't want to stereotype people, but probably like overweight males sitting in their mother's basements. Just commenting shitty comments on videos. not you guys. I'm about to get like swamped with shitty comments now from my YouTube channel. But no, not you guys. You guys are great, actually. You're fantastic. But it is something that I think is overseen a lot within the prepper community, that people don't think about your body. And I often talk about this, that one of the most important things that we can do, the two most important things I would say that you need to prepare within yourself are first your mindset, your mentality about how you think about things, about how you see the world, and like what you consume through your eyes and your ears, as in media, like what you consume through your eyes and your ears, as in media, to the world as well. So setting up the survival mindset, setting up a mindset of resilience as a resilient human being. The next thing you need to do is actually improve your physicality. So improve your ability to do things, your capability, physical capability to do things. That's one thing that I really try and push myself to do. I'm not getting any younger, but I would still say I'm in pretty good physical nick. I'm in pretty good physical condition because I work on it. I make sure that I do. it's something that I try to not ignore, or if I'm getting busy or something like that, it's, generally one of those things that gets thrown out the window first. But I really try and have a concerted effort to make sure that I am working out at a regular sort of interval. I'm not like religious about it or anything, but I've got a home gym set up here. I like to lift weights. I like to do that sort of stuff. I've got a row machine so I can go hit that. I play b-ball with a group, hopefully once a week. Go for a jog every now and then. I walk a lot. I walk the dogs. I walk up the street to get things. I walk to go to the shops, and I carry things back. I get out into the land. I cut down wood, cut down trees, split wood. I cut down wood, cut down trees, split wood, use the axe, all that sort of stuff, physical labor, things like that. But I do have actual workouts that I do as well. So that's something that I just want to throw out there this morning, that I want you to be physically fit. At the end of the day, from a prepping perspective, it's kind of like this to me. It gives me more options. I'm always about creating options. How do I have more options, or more ability to do things than less? So for a long time, when I was a younger lad, it wasn't that long ago actually, but when I was a bit younger, I used to practice a lot of like parkour type stuff. Oh, my internet's dropped out. What's happening here? Sorry, YouTube seems fine, but Instagram was just dropping out there. I practiced parkour a lot. I was living in and around the city, so it kind of made a lot more sense. And I had the equipment there. In the parkour, you're generally going up and over obstacles, and a city is filled with obstacles to channel you. So I practiced that a lot, and that was really good. Practiced sort of natural movement type regimes or things. And I recommend it a lot. It just gives you more options. So in an emergency, if something happens, if there is a 10-foot wall, I don't see a barrier. I see something that I can probably get up and over if I try hard enough. If I see railings or something like that, I can see something that I can utilize to effect an escape, or to get, move myself over. And that's what I want you to think about, is the more physically capable you can be, the more you increase your survivability. I'll put it that way. One thing I talk about when I'm doing classes and things like that, and I'm talking about equipment, I talk about the front line of equipment, or shelter, being what you wear on your body, and making sure that you wear things that are appropriate to the weather, to the area, and to your ability to move, i.e. your body, and making sure that you wear things that are appropriate to the weather, to the area, and to your ability to move, i.e. your footwear. So if you are wearing business shoes or heels or something like that, I just say, look, can you sprint 200 meters in that? And I'll be teaching this to a lot of people, and sometimes, well, quite often actually, I'm teaching to public servants and diplomats who might not be as physically capable, haven't invested their time and efforts into building a good physical body. So I say things like, look, if you're wearing these sorts of shoes, can you run 200 meters? And I've noticed, in some classes, people go like, you can see them tweaking to like the cogs in their head going off, going, can I sprint 200 meters in any shoes? Like, can I sprint 200 meters? And so that's a question you need to ask yourself. Can you sprint 200 meters? Or maybe 200 is a stretch. This might be me being extreme, but I would say at least 30 to 50 meters a sprint in, I'm not going to give it a time, but just be able to do a fast run for 50 meters and then repeat that effort. That would be a good benchmark to start off with. Can you then maybe jog for 1 or 2 kilometers, even at a slower pace, which means that you can move your body out of an area if need be in an emergency situation, a little bit faster than a walk. Speaking of walking though, can you put a pack on your back and hike for 5Ks or 10Ks or 15Ks? And how heavy is that pack? And this is one of the things when it comes into equipment again, when people are building grab bags, and they build grab bags that have got all this awesome stuff in it and all this great gear in it, they don't really think about how much it actually weighs. They pick it up and they're like, oh, yeah, it's a bit weighty, but whatever. And then they put it down and never really think about it. One of the things I recommend to people is to actually test out your preps. Put your pack on. If you built a pack, put that thing on and take yourself for a 5K walk, and then see what happens. See where it rubs, see where it hurts, see how much your shoulders hurt and all this sort of stuff. Because in an emergency, you might have to stretch that out and extrapolate that out to a pack which you think's great, but in that last minute, you're like, oh shit, actually, I'm going to chuck another 2 kilos of water and another couple of extra meals and tins of tuna and stuff in there. And all of a sudden, you've got an extra like 5 kilo of fudge factor in there. And you're not going 5Ks, you're going 20Ks for 5 days each day. So now you really need to be critical of your gear and make sure that your gear works and it fits well and that you have the physical capability to do that. Anyway, back to this story. This is what twigged this story. The residents of some town that I'm not even going to try and pronounce, Cluj-Napoca. That was such an Aussie way of doing that. Cluj-Napoca, a city in Western Romania. Cluj-Napoca, I don't know how you say it, but anyway. A city in Western Romania can get a free bus ride by doing 20 squats as part of a health campaign initiated by Sports Festival. So they got some sports festival. Essentially what they've done, they've put these like boxes out there with a computer screen on it, and you go and like, yes, I'd like a free thing. And then you step down and there's like markings on the pavement and you sit there and do 20 squats and it watches you do 20 squats. And once you've done it, it goes ding, you get a free ride. And I guess, I don't know, maybe it's scanning your face and doing some other biometric theft of PII, of personal identifying information. Who knows? So, like I said, I think this is a good idea. Anything that helps people move more, that encourages people to move more, is a great idea. Helps people move. The problem I have with this is, yes, this is using technology and things like this for what I would see as a good end, but also this is in that realm of social credit system where it just like, I'm just also like, I don't know about that. Really good, what would you call it, behavioral or operant conditioning here, which works pretty well for humans. We think that's something you do with dogs. I.e., good behavior, here's a treat. Bad behavior, here's a smack. But we are from the psychology, from that sort of psychology from dogs. Humans work in a very similar way, and so this is a government or some sort of organization conditioning human beings to do this. But like I said, it's conditioning human beings to move more, which I think is a good idea. So have a think about that today. That's what I want you to think about. Getting up and down off the ground is a super important skill for survivability. We don't often think about it, but just the ability to get up and down off the ground in different ways can increase your survivability. I know I'm coming from a background here where I worked in a job and have worked in places where my physical capability background here, where I worked in a job and have worked in places where my physical capability is pretty clearly linked to my survivability. So if I can run and sprint fast and dive and hit the ground and crawl and then get up and continue thinking while my heart's beating out of my chest, and most human beings never experience that. Most of you probably watching will never have experienced that. But if you need that, it's not just going to come there. It's not just going to appear if you need it. You need to actually practice that. And a lot of my workouts and things like that are built around that idea. I mean, I'm still building like foundational strength and just doing, deadlifts and other sort of multi-joint lifts and things like that. But a lot of the stuff I do, like I work out with body armor or weight vests on, picking up things, carrying them, dragging things, pulling things, all this sort of stuff from different positions, moving in different positions, crawling around, all that sort of stuff I'm still doing because that's the kind of stuff that you need to do in an emergency. And it's better to have it and need it than need it and not have it, as I like to say. Or another thing I like to say is that there's this idea that people will rise to the occasion, that when an emergency happens, you'll be fine, adrenaline will kick in and I'll rise to the occasion. And I always say I call bullshit on that because I've been in these situations and not once have I ever risen to the occasion. I always, and this is an old armyism, you always fall to the level of your training. So whatever training you do in an emergency, that is what you will most likely do in that emergency. So if you train improperly, and if you train shit, then in an emergency, that's what you do. If you train nothing, then in an emergency, that's what you'll do. Nothing. So think about that today. Get out and do some squats. Don't need a free bus ride to do it. What's going on in the stock market? Nothing good. The Dow has dropped under 30,000. That just might be some random numbers to you. Who cares? It's dropped 700 points to under 30,000. Who gives a shit? People give a shit about this. This is kind of just one of those indications where I like to look at it and go like, okay. You don't need to know the numbers. The ASX is down. That's the Aussie one. The S&P 500 is down. NASDAQ is down huge amounts. And that's probably driven because that's tech sector sort of stuff. And part of like, or clinging on to tech sector stuff, we've got crypto. And crypto has hit some pretty critical points. I had a bit of a catch up with my mutual assistance group last night, my mag, and it was basically because I'm like, hey, I'm seeing some stuff at the moment where things are starting to get a little bit critical. I don't like to be alarmist, but there are certain key points that I've been looking for, and when I'm looking at stock market, I'm looking at certain numbers. The Dow plummeting X amount, so a certain percentage within a certain time is one of them, or hitting certain numbers, going under certain numbers, where I then start to go like, okay. I think my numbers were roughly like 7,000 or something for the ASX, and it's under that. 30,000 was another indicator for Dow. It's under that. Crypto, I was like, well, I don't think if we go on to 1,800 for Ethereum, for example, that's kind of bad. It's way under that. Bitcoin, the big one, I think 2,100 was my indicator for that, and it's at 21,000 was my indicator, and it's at 20,000 something this morning. So everything that I'm looking at, I'm like, well, things are down. It doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. Okay, the stock market and all these indicators go up and down because people wait for it to go down a lot, and then they go, cool, bargain basement time, let's buy up, and then things shoot back up. So don't freak out. But there are a lot of things that are